Okay, back at the final video here. And it shouldn't be this many parts. It should have been at least 4 parts. But like my list keeps getting broken up. I think like I finally got to the last bits anyway, so it's fine. So last we left off, the next uh, favorite movie I liked growing up, Stakeout with Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez. It's another great cop movie. Pretty sure it's set in like early '90s. It's pretty much like as the movie suggests, as a stakeout movie. You got like these two cops looking after this one woman who knows this, criminal that's pretty much broken out of jail, traveling, trying to get to her because he suspects he knows where she might have stashed some cash. So in the meantime, this dude, Richard Driver's character, is forming some kind of attachment to her. So this movie is very fun. And it's a fun watch. It's a great cop movie. And it's like, it has a sequel to it. I was contemplating on putting on the list, Stick Out 2. I kind of want to recommend it too, but it's not on the list. If you feel inclined to watch the sequel to this, it doesn't live up to this one as much, but I think it's actually pretty solid still. So yeah, Stakeout, very good cop movie. Star Wars. Now, this definitely worth a few minutes of my time to discuss. Now, Star Wars is obviously a pinnacle of great films. Star Wars, honestly, broken the mold in terms of making a proper saga. Now, of course, the original three, New Hope, Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, is still among like the best three story arcs of all time so far as like great movies. But then they hit us with the prequels. They have their issues. Then you got like those movies in between, like Rogue One and Solo. Then you have this sequel trilogy of Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and then the uh, Rise of Skywalker. And then you have, of course, the TV shows Rebels and Clone Wars. Now, and then the Mandalorian. All that weaving together to this big franchise and story and world is just so involved. Now, the I gotta say, I didn't care for the prequels that much, but I do say it has its moments. And it's just like with the sequels, they had their moments too, but very little. But the prequel trilogy, I gotta say, uh, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi is phenomenal to this day. I I might be in a minority in this, but I say Hayden Christensen is a great Darth Vader and a great Anakin Skywalker. Fight me, I don't care. He was dealt a bad hand when George Lucas gave him some bad writing, and he just wasn't given like proper. It wasn't proper chemistry between him and Natalie Portman, uh, uh, and which is a shame because they're both great actors in their own rights. But sometimes actors usually probably don't gel well. It's not like they had problems on set. It's just like, at least not that I know of, but it's just there was no chemistry there to sell that these lovers who were forbidden to be with each other, and they having like children, twins as secret, Luke and Leia, and it's like it should have been a bigger. This is supposed to have been meaning something. It did mean something, but it should have been bigger than it actually was at first when you first saw it. But all in all, it's like you got Darth Maul, a great Star Wars villain, and the fact that Rebels and Clone Wars bring this character his own arc through the course of that point up until pretty sure it was Rebels, that he had his long successful arc. Well, not successful, but his long arc of his own merit. Uh, just for being like a minor villain, he has an incredible pathway through his own little arc. Then you have like Clone Wars that birthed Ahsoka Tano, one of like fan favorites of the entire TV Star Wars series, and then bringing her back in live action in The Mandalorian, that was phenomenal. Spoiler alert, by the way, for a lot of stuff, but uh, Mandalorian ended way back in December. You should have seen it by this point, so screw you. But uh, thank you, Daniel. I'm surprised I'm anybody's favorite streamer, honestly. But yeah, I'm almost done. I'm getting towards the end. This is gonna be the last video of the night. I'll be back tomorrow so I can, go through other videos, which is a whole lot shorter than this. This spanned longer than I initially thought it would be. But anyway, yeah, Star Wars is a great trilogy. I'm curious to know which ones of this movie franchise is your favorite. But Return of the Jedi is probably my favorite. New Hope is probably like tied, but man, I love The Force Awakens. Rogue One surprised me as far as like a good uh, in between movie that surprised me. Uh, but yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys' favorite Star Wars film, the entire saga. Street Fighter. Now, the Assassin's Fist. Now, this is like a proper Street Fighter movie. They made like the '90s one with Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile, and then Raul Julia as uh, M. Bison. It's kind of like Batman and Robin so far as like good bad movies, but it wasn't a proper Street Fighter movie. Then there was the Legend of Chun Li with uh, that lady who played Lana Lang in the Smallville TV show. She was Chun Li in like her own movie, which it wasn't. It was almost it's almost worse. It wasn't even a good bad movie. It was just like a bad movie that is somehow gotten. It was like worse than the uh, Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter version. But this live action one is actually the better live action Street Fighter movie. It's just centered around Ryu and Ken and their time with their master Goken and their adversary being Akuma. It was like a looming threat towards the end. And this leads into probably like Street Fighter 4 video game, but this is a proper Street Fighter movie. You can look it up online. I'm pretty sure you can download on Amazon Prime. But this is like a proper Street Fighter film. I think it's broken up in different parts, but altogether, I think I consider it as a solid Street Fighter movie that's centered around just a few characters with like interconnected livelihoods, but with no other character. I mean, there can be reference of character, like they reference Dan Hibiki, but he wasn't shown. It wasn't his thing. And I wish they could have built off of it, because like each movie can have their own little story. Like they can have because they stay true to the. This is like another movie that's uh, as I could consider a great movie based off a video game, because they stay true to the core aspects of the character and what their ethos and their pathos is, and they didn't stray away from that. And I think they just worked off of, because Street Fighter 4, I think it was kind of sort of like a reboot of uh, the video game version of Street Fighter, and they went on from there into Street Fighter 5. But yeah, Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, I highly recommend. If you want a good Street Fighter movie, check out Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber of Fleet Street. This, I don't. I think it's the only musical that I actually enjoy. I mean, I heard other musicals, I watched other musicals, but this is one that actually I kind of like, because Helena Bonham Carter. Oh my God, that woman speaks to me and my soul so much, because when she gets that goth look going on, that does it for me in such a way that it's like she looked like, she can snatch souls, and she was in Harry Potter too as one of the villains, and like she placated that. Oh my God, you know, I love Helena Bonham Carter. She's just like amazing. But Sweeney Todd is an incredible film. Another great Johnny Depp film. It's like pretty much like a you know horror musical in a way, based off a play, obviously, but it's just like a crazed barber looking for revenge for what was done to him in his youth. So I don't want to uh, get too into it because I don't want to spoil that much into it. But you like the goth aesthetic, you like musicals, you like Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. This is the movie for you. Check it out. Very good. Now, of course, we had like the bread and butter of some of the best movies. Let me minimize this a bit. Uh, Man, Schwarzenegger in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, two of the best movies of the 80s and the 90s. And you're talking about like, and the creator, uh, uh, um, James Cameron, he came up with the idea of the Terminator in like a nightmare he had one time that some killer robot after him, and he made a movie franchise out of that. Now, like I say, I didn't put all the I like Terminator 3 and 4 enough. Salvation was alright because we finally got to the future, the apocalyptic future that was told to us just in story and flashbacks, but we finally get to live in it. And they should have just, if they was going to continue on with the story, they should have continued on from there. That you in the future now, you're fighting robots. No more time travel. I think we placated that enough with 3. 3 was all right. You gotta deal with because they built upon like the first Terminator was Arnold Schwarzenegger, just your basic model. Then if that didn't work out, they Skynet sent back a T-1000. Literally, probably personally, I think one of the best movie villains of all time, right next to like Wicked Witch of the West and uh, the joke Heath Ledger's Joker, as far as like great movie villains, and like the T-1000 is literally an indestructible piece of hardware that just keeps coming after you and was better at uh, and hiding himself among people and actually can easily fake emotion better than uh, uh, Schwarzenegger's Terminator 1 version. But yeah, that one's easily my favorite. But then you got uh, the TX and Terminator 3, who were like the mix between the two, which is like even the more upgraded version of the T-1000. Didn't think that was possible. That was creative and unique, to say the least. But still did, oh, excuse me, still didn't hold up as well as the first two. But if anything, they should have ended after 4, because at least we got to see the future that was been talked about so many times over the past 3 movies. But then you got Genesis and this other crappy films afterwards, and they should have just stopped. And there wasn't as good, man. I mean, just left off at 4, just leave it there. But the first 2 does make it on my list so far as like my favorite non-superhero films. Terminator 1 and 2, very highly recommended if you haven't seen it, which I'm seriously doubt that you by this point shouldn't have not seen Terminator 1 and 2. Oh, I did not realize this was like a Tarantino film. I completely forgot. Yeah, I got another Tarantino film, Man uh, with the Iron Fist, starring the RZA, Russell Crowe, Lucy Liu, Dave Bautista. Man, this is like an awesome martial arts film. Uh, I don't know if it was around the same time or before, where the RZA was involved with making Afro Samurai, which is on my favorite anime listing, which I'll get to tomorrow. But RZA loved his martial arts films. That's part of why he was heavily involved in the soundtrack in this movie. But I do highly recommend you watch Man of the Iron Fist, especially if you love good martial arts films. Uh, Man, this is fantastic. And they made a sequel to this, wasn't as good, but the RZA, just in case you don't know, I know the Iron Fist TV show, Marvel Netflix show, didn't do so well, but especially season one. Well, one of the episodes in season one where he was going through a building full of different martial artists is in one episode. I think it was third or fourth episode, either third, fourth, or fifth episode. I'm pretty sure it was either third or fourth. That one of those was directed by the RZA himself, and probably the only good episode out of the entire season that was any good because the RZA loves his martial arts films. He breathes that stuff. He's probably a nerd for those kind of things, and I could have sworn he directed this. I guess I was wrong, but Quentin Tarantino directed this apparently. But this is a great martial arts film too, and I highly recommend it. It's funny and like it's like got these cool mythological kind of Chinese mythological kind of aesthetic, very anime in its own way, but definitely check it out. It's very good. Of course, we got The Matrix, Keanu Reeves. Next to Speed, this is like another one of his like breakout roles. Now, the first Matrix movie holds up very well. Now, the sequels, however, not they're problematic. Although I do gotta say the Matrix 2 did have my favorite scene where you got Neo fighting a bunch of Agent Smiths in this park, and it was probably one of my easily one of the top favorite, at least in general, by a lot of people, favorite recognizable iconic movie fight scenes because that was pretty damn good. Even though they look like PS2 characters here and from here and there in certain moments, but uh, the first Matrix movie really got Keanu Reeves into martial arts. It's like that, and John Wick really got him into like cars, and I think he was always into cars and motorcycles, but it's like he really got into martial arts after this film, and the Matrix shouldn't be slept on, and it's kind of broke the mold when it comes to like movies since then, but kind of good and bad in a way because it's around the early 2000s when black leather was all the rage apparently, and it's like it's probably the reason why, at least in the same vein as the first X-Men movie when it's wearing all this black leather, and it's like the colors like it's like was kind of like drained everywhere in certain movies, and it's like everything got to be drenched in black leather. And it's like I guess that was the aesthetic at the time of the early 2000s. But the first Matrix movie was very, very, it's still very good, very highly adored by many, and really set Keanu Reeves on a path of stardom, to be fair. But then he kind of took a slow burn downwards after Matrix 3. But man, when that John Wick movie, that what I mentioned in the previous video, when that movie came out, it launched him right back up. It skyrocketed him. Like he's still on his high, I'm pretty sure, but he's still such a good man. Keanu Reeves is awesome. So, we got The Mummy Returns and The Mummy, Brendan Fraser versions. I only seen the Boris Karloff Mummy film one time with my grandfather as a kid, but I never ever went back to it. This to a lot of people is still the original Mummy movie, the Brendan Fraser version. And of course, the sequel wasn't as good because every time they put in like a kid is always terrible. But this is supposed to have been The Rock's breakout role, but I don't know if he was busy with something, but they really like not shafted him. He still was there, but it's like uh, he didn't do much. He was there at the beginning and there at the end. Wasn't much in the middle. But Brendan Fraser uh, really made these mummy movies shine and is making it, just as fun as like Indiana Jones. But then you got Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which is like the third mummy movie. Not very good. Do not watch that one. I mean, if you want to watch it to make a complete circle, you can, but it isn't as good as the first two. The second one still has its charm, but the first mummy movie is so good, very very good, and it's like, I watch that every Halloween. Another great Halloween movie, and I gotta say, like, in case I don't make a video of it, I gotta say Dracula Untold, the Mummy movie, like at least the villain, the Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Wolfman, which we'll get to soon, uh, uh, make could have been altogether a good Universal monster collab in of themselves, because they each were good in their own right, and I wish they could have been collaborating and somehow. They do a multiverse. They could have do a multiverse with Universal monsters and get Emotep, the I guess, well, you got Ryan Gosling playing the Wolfman, but you get the guy or at least whoever's going to be the next Invisible Man, because you know you know if you've seen the Invisible Man, you know how it turns out. But then you got Luke Evans Dracula all together. That will make a great monster movies. But yeah, Brendan Fraser mummy movies are solid films. The first two at least. So highly recommend those. If you especially want like those swashbuckler adventure kind of movies, this is the movie for you. Got another Christmas movie, Night Before. The Night Before, starring Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony Mackie. Uh, this is a good Christmas movie. Just like the movie Booty Call that I was mentioned earlier in the previous video. It's like that movie that's over a course, an adventure over a course of one night, and then these three are just hilarious together, and it's just like not like a stoner movie. It's like a good adult-ish uh, uh, comedy Christmas movie. If you're like in your mid teens and older, you will get a kick out of a movie like this. You don't have to be. It's not like a stoner movie. You don't have to be high to enjoy it. But even though there's like drug, moments like weed and stuff like that in it, it's not a stoner movie. Like, at least not in my interpretation. This is just a good Christmas movie that I thoroughly enjoy. Please check this out. Just to see these three dynamic actors work off each other. This is just phenomenal. Love The Night Before. The Craft. Oh my God, The Craft. Let me tell you, if you ever watched the 2000s TV show Charmed, that TV show came out off the back of this movie, because it got four witches, or at least teenagers that practice in witchcraft. Uh, it was just like, it's so good. Like, you got Fereza Bulk. I think I'm butchering the first name. You talking about like Golf Crushes? She plays like the bad guy in this, but man, she has that sexy bad girl about her, that goth thing. She's crazy as hell in that, but I don't care, man. She, oh my God, and it's like, and she plays crazy very well. I'm surprised Melissa Ball didn't do much more, because she was also in The Waterboy with uh, Adam Sandler, but I've never seen her in anything else beyond this movie and that movie. I know she's been in stuff, but nothing very prominent, which is very, very weird, because uh, you know, all four of these characters should have been, this should have been like a rise to stardom for a lot of them, but it's just like one of those movies that's kind of like it's like one of those niche movies that's like only certain crowds enjoy, but this spoke to me. It's like I mentioned earlier, I got a thing for goth girls, man, and it's like Melissa Bach was like, oh my god, she was like that goth girl, that crazy goth girl, that bad girl. And it's like I don't even care. She's crazy, but she was so fine, man. Another Keanu Reeves movie, Devil's Advocate. Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino, man. This movie is all kinds of creepy. I mentioned in uh, Brendan Fraser's movie Bedazzled, Elizabeth Hurley plays a great devil, but so did Al Pacino in this interpretation of the devil. Uh, he plays that kill you with kindness kind of thing, and like uh, it's like this Al Pacino ness about it, where it's like he really shines in this movie, and it's like uh, just this lawyer, country lawyer that comes to New York working for a guy who's he does not know is the devil, and it's just like all this creepy occult crap happening. It's intense. It has some scary moments in this, and it's like, but Al Pacino chews the scenery every chance he get. He's just amazing. So I highly recommend The Devil's Advocate. This is personally, I think, an underrated um, Nick Cage movie because The Family Man is another Christmas movie, and pretty much like him and Don Cheadle uh, 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 and Laura Linney, I think her name is, stars in this movie, where it's like uh, a business guy at the top of his game, you know, you know, meets up with like this mysterious guy played by Don Cheadle, who somehow I don't know if he's like some kind of supposed to be some kind of angel in this film, but takes Nick Cage's yuppie life and put him in like a what if scenario of a life uh, with his childhood sweetheart that he never took the time to uh, you know make it official with her when he could have had a chance. But it's a great film, a nice little family film. I mean, not a lot of people think this is a great Nick Cage film because it's not Nick Cage at his Nick Cageiest, wilding out. Which I understand. I do like Nick Cage when he does that. Uh, I'm surprised Face Off is supposed to have been on this list. I don't know what happened, but Face Off is a great Nick Cage film as well. I recommend Nick Cage, a lot of Nick Cage films, but Family Man and Face Off is two of the biggest in my opinion. But Face Off in particular definitely need to be watched by everybody. It's a great '90s film too, and uh, directed by John Woo. So definitely check out Family Man and Face Off. Uh, The Forbidden Kingdom. This is another Jackie Chan Jet Li movie. This surprisingly is the only time we get to see Jet Li and Jackie Chan in a movie together that everybody's been waiting on for the longest time through like the '90s into in the 2000s. But they included some whiny teenager in it just to get these two together, and it's like they could have left all that out and just had these two as the two main leads, and it's like I don't know what's with Hollywood or whomever decide that adding like a teenager in the mix or a young adult in the mix to get these two together would work in the storyline. They could have just left all that out, but I still want to recommend this just solely because you finally get Jackie Chan and Jet Li in a movie together, and they still are phenomenal in this. And you get to see them fight a little bit, just in case you ever want to see like who will win between the fight in Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Okay, we got The Founder. Uh, this is like a not a documentary, but it's just like a story about the creator of McDonald's. At least um, uh, I wouldn't even call it. After I watched this movie, I was like, he's not necessarily the creator. I don't want to tell the entire story, but it's like how McDonald's got started. Because it's supposed to be created by two brothers until some dude came up and underhandedly took that from them and pretty much like became the founder of McDonald's. It's a great story. Michael Keaton is great in this role. So yeah, I highly recommend watching The Founder if you want to know how like McDonald's got started. It's not like a documentary. This is like an actual legit movie. Not documentary. Not that documentaries are not legit movies, but this is like a movie, a film, and you get to see the story behind the creation of McDonald's. The Thief and the Cobbler. This movie, I grew up watching, a lot on my VHS. A lot of times, Michael J. Fox plays a thief, and uh, I forgot who plays the. No, he plays the cobbler. I forgot who plays the thief, but the thief is always funny in this every time he's in the scene together. But this is like on the same vein as Aladdin, with telling a story of like Arabian Nights kind of stuff. And it's a very good animated movie. Highly recommend it if you ever seen A Thief and the Cobbler. It's just like a great hour-and-a-half movie. You and the visuals of the film is phenomenal. It's like what they managed to do with like patterns is very unique, and it's like uh, you get a kick out of that, man. Just check it out. All right, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Now, this one I had to include on the list because this is technically Heath Ledger's last film before he died. He passed away before this movie was finished. He was there in the first two acts, uh, but it's pretty much a story of I got Christopher Plummer's character uh, uh, making his constant bet with this devil-like character, and just when to see who like humanity's if it's all good or all evil kind of thing. But they meet up with Heath Ledger's character, who is very shady, but he plays off of you know not unsuspecting, just all around good guy on the surface, is misunderstood kind of thing. But uh, Parnassus is kind of like this traveling circus folk kind of thing. Andrew Garfield stars in this as well as one of the acts. But uh, every time, like it's like this little, it's some level of mysticism in the movie, where like people go into Parnassus' little curtain and they see their wildest fantasies as something they could do or hope to be, or kind of thing. But then you'll also get tempted into doing something wrong because it's like an immediate uh, like placate to your inner base instincts, but you get to choose between like sticking with the good or going with the bad in the moment. But he lets the character falls through, and every time he goes through, he got a different face. That's why you get to see on this poster. You got Jude Law, Johnny Depp, and Colin Farrell, who each one of them plays the same character very well, and like they very good. And it's like uh, you would believe that they're all the same character. When Colin Farrell's turn came up, this is around the time when Heath Ledger died. So when they finished up, he just wrapped up the character on his own rights, which he still did a very good job. I highly recommend this movie. It's just a fun movie, great story, and it's like if nothing else, just to see Heath Ledger in like a good final role, because I love this movie. It's very good. The Incredibles 1 and 2. Excuse me, nose getting stopped up. I had to go outside to deal with something. I hope it's not already affecting me. But anyway, uh, The Incredibles. A lot of people joked about like it being like the better Fantastic Four film. I take some ire with that. Now, the Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family, and it should deserve their freaking respect. And I cannot wait until they finally comes in the MCU. Phase 4 is now, and they're hinting at Fantastic Four right now. With if you're watching WandaVision on Disney Plus, there there's a suspect they hinting at uh, not only X-Men but the Fantastic Four. And like I want, uh, I made a joke with a group of friends, talking about like I want in the first uh, Fantastic Four in the MCU film to have like this movie on and them just trashing movie. Like what is this copyrighted bull crap? And turn that crap off. Just to show that we are the Fantastic Four done right. And like and I love The Incredibles. They're fun. Definitely give it a watch, especially it's a good family film, the first one and the second one, which another example of like a movie, a sequel to a movie that's long since came out over a course of almost like a decade. But yeah, very good film. Uh, both of them. Highly recommend The Incredibles. Uh, very quotable movie, by the way. Great villain. Uh, honey, where's my super suit? Sam Jackson, obviously showing off his voice acting chops as Frozone. But then uh, you got uh, the actor Syndrome. I forgot his doggone name, but Syndrome in the movie is a great uh, villain. Like like if you hear somebody reference saying like, "You got me monologuing," it's from The Incredibles. Check out The Incredibles. That joke, you'll understand that joke once you see it if you haven't seen it. The Incredibles is a great superhero film. Check it out. It's awesome. I know it's supposed to be non-superhero, but this is like, not traditional DC or Marvel one. All right. This movie, I watched a lot. This is The Man Who Invented Christmas. This is like a story of uh, uh, Charles Dickens and how he came up with the idea of the Christmas Carol and what apparently would have gone through at his time when his little estranged, dealing with his estranged father and dealing with his own issues of past and what is going on in his present and what he feared of the future. And the struggles of trying to get together, coming up with like the idea of like just on the name alone of trying to come up with the idea of the name of Scrooge, like him like struggling to because all the noise with his family and dealing with everything. Because I didn't know that he like to be secluded in his room while he's trying to work because he doesn't want to be distracted. Because when he's in his mode, when people take him out of it, he gets very irritated and angry. But especially because when he forms stories around the name he comes up with, and he figures out names of certain characters by people he meets. So if you're a writer, it's good to go out there and be amongst people and be in a world and just sit in a coffee shop or a restaurant or a theater or whatever, and you get inspirations from the most minute things sometimes. And he come up with this, name like Bob Cratchit or like uh just from watching like a old man uh uh not not Bob Cratchit. I'm thinking of Marley. You come with the idea of Marley just watching a loan, not a loan shark, but just how like you get like loans at certain offices. One character he trying to get a loan from just to get a book published literally has a chained up safe, an old school chained up safe, and he looks at it and he just gets the idea about like uh, this partner of Scrooge, supposed to be like the ghost of his old partner literally dragging chains connected to saves that he was just in life, just seemed like he was joined at the hip with almost, and was just as miserly, probably even more so than Scrooge. Uh, so he got that kind of idea from there. So what's the man who invented Christmas? You want to get the idea of like the creation of the Christmas Carol in the first place. This is a good film. Meteor Man, just like with Blank Man, Meteor Man was like a great film, a great ensemble cast. It's pretty much like you were talking about Black Superman. This is Black Superman. Robert Townsend as the Meteor Man is very good. Yeah, like Robin Gibbons, uh, Eddie Griffin, like early Eddie Griffin, before he made it big-ish. Uh, yeah, Bill Cosby is in this, of course. Uh, uh, Luther Vandross, Sinbad, and this is like cool cast of characters that you gotta do yourself a favor and check it out. Meteor Man is an awesome film. Just like a ordinary guy in the inner city. I'm pretty sure it was like in Harlem, New York, maybe, I don't know. But a meteor crash lands, and a chunk of it lands in his chest, and he absorbs it, and he gains superpowers on a level of Superman in a way, almost Superman, not like just like flying, strength, speed, invulnerability. Uh, but you gotta check out Meteor Man. It's an awesome film. A lot of people who grew up with this film understood how great of a film this is. I cannot remember how, if anything is bad in this movie. I'm probably remembering in rose-colored glasses about this movie, but this movie, as I recall, is solid film. Not Star Wars level good, but still a good film in its own right, and I do highly recommend it. The Nice Guys, Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. I kind of slept on this movie during the whole period while it was in the theaters because everybody was raving about it. I didn't really had a need or care to watch it, but it was on TV. It got on TV cable one time a couple years back, and I was like, "Well, it's on TV. I'm gonna check it out." It was on one Saturday when usually the newer films usually pop up uh, on a Saturday on cable, and I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is a very good detective cop movie," and it's like it's noirish too, and I was like, I don't know why I keep sleeping on these movies. And it's like, it was a great movie. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling play off each other very well. And it's like, you know, it's like a late 70s, early 80s LA. And it's an awesome movie. And it's like, I really highly recommend you checking it out. If you haven't done so, and if you heard people talking well about this movie, the hype is real. It's very good. Please, watch The Nice Guys. Uh, I got one more Robin Williams movie after this, but this is one of my favorite Robin Williams movies, Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, Robin Williams is probably still one of the best at doing impressions and voices and accents. Man, Mrs. Doubtfire, he knocked that apart with this character. Uh, I forgot what the two people he combined to make this character of. He was in an interview, and he mentioned that he got Margaret Thatcher and somebody else combined to make uh, Mrs. Doubtfire. And pretty much it's like a guy who lost custody of his kids because I guess he's like according to Sally Field, who plays his ex-wife, kind of thought he was just like a big man child that she also had to take care of along with her actual children, and he doesn't think he was very responsible. So just to get beyond, or at least get around the whole court order of custody of the kids being taken away, or at least uh, just to see, not taken away, but just visitation rights kind of situation, he just to see his kids a lot more and spend time with them, he plays this nanny, and just to see his own kids. It's very funny, but I didn't see it at the time. But as I'm older, I can see why Sally Field's character thought she was the most irresponsible. Because he in on if you look closely, she is right. He is a very irresponsible. His character was very irresponsible. No parent would do half the crap that his character pulled. And it's like honestly, I can't remember. Uh, uh, See you later, Daniel. Have a good night. I'm almost done anyway. You can watch this later. But yeah. So yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire is also, man. You can definitely check out Mrs. Doubtfire. Robin Williams is just the late Robin Williams is like sorely missed, and it's like we miss his comedic charm, and I wish somebody would talk to him before he forcibly committed suicide. He could have uh, brought so much to the world. It's just like it's like a loss on our part more so than anything. We lost a treasure, really. The Santa Claus. Now, oh, I gotta adjust my seat. Oh my god, I've been sitting in this chair for the longest with only brief moments of getting up. But Tim Allen, the Santa Claus. Now, I don't. I mean, I've seen the sequels, but the first one is far better as Tim Allen as the Santa Claus. Just pretty much like Tim Allen sees. If you've seen the trailers back in the day, sees Santa Claus on a roof, thought he was a burglar, accidentally dies. He puts on the suit, and according to the clause of the Santa Claus, whoever puts on the suit next is automatically Santa Claus now. It's pretty much like a different version of Arthur Christmas, where like that's how I guess in this interpretation you explain how uh, Santa Claus uh, so live was somehow immortalized so for so many centuries, because if something ever happened to him, the next person who ever put on a suit will automatically be Santa Claus and takes over from there. So it'll be kind of a downer if there's another Santa Claus uh, movie and somehow something happened to Tim Allen's character, then whoever puts on the suit that's their Santa Claus now, that'll be kind of like a dark turn. But the first Santa Claus movie is solid and highly recommend it. The sequels, the second one's alright, but the third one's kind of crap. But I do recommend the first Santa Claus movie. Shawshank Redemption, man. Uh, a friend of mine commented on Tim Robbins. Thought he was like, like, because I guess she's into tall guys, and Tim Robbins is a very tall guy, but she thought he was handsome. Like, not saying he's ugly. He's not ugly by any stretch of imagination. I was like, I don't understand the appeal to Tim Robbins, but different strokes, I guess. I mean, I got a thing for Zoe Deschanel, so I can't talk because like that quirkiness about her just makes her sexier for some reason. I can't understand that or explain that. So different strokes for people. But Shawshank Redemption is a great story. Just a guy got sent to prison because of supposedly he was framed, or I don't even know he was even framed. They wasn't even touching on who actually killed his wife, but he got sent to prison because he was suspected. But I guess he, after a while, so many years, he didn't want to grow old in this prison, so he orchestrated like a breakout for himself. But it's like, but just everything involved inside the prison before that even happens is where the story is, and something that you should check out for yourselves. Him playing off of Morgan Freeman is just like amazing. Everything involving this movie is just top notch, critically acclaimed, and it's something that you guys definitely should see, if because usually on TNT a lot, but definitely check out Shawshank Redemption. Silence of the Lambs. I did mention in my Fracture when I was talking about the movie Fracture with him, Anthony Hopkins, and Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling, what tone was that? Ryan Gosling. Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs was just like he sells that creepy dude so well. And of course, there's been like TV shows and sequels to Silence of the Lambs, but you cannot beat the original. Silence of the Lambs is like very good. Uh, just dealing with like a literal cannibal, and it's like I don't know, like it's just like a real life thing you could easily be afraid of. It's not like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. This is like something that could exist right now, like a fear of somebody like Hannibal Lecter, who is just like look like an everyday dude until he drugs you, kills you, and eats you. And but he is like a very smart individual on top of all that. And it's just like him playing off of uh, Claire Reese is just so good. Like everything involving them is just very good. A very recommended movie in case you didn't see it. Silence of the Lambs. If you like thriller, it's kind of in the horror genre, but it's more so like a psychological thriller too. If you enjoy those, Silence of the Lambs is definitely for you. The Usual Suspects. Man, uh, I'd like to say 2 out of the 5 people here actually became something because you got like the guy who played not the Grandmaster in the MCU, but the Collector in the MCU as the tallest guy among this group. I forgot his doggone name. I'm blanking. Benicio del Toro. Yeah, that's his name. Uh, you, him and Kevin Spacey are the only probably two that actually became like big stars. I'm not saying the others wasn't big stars, like the Baldwin actor there. Obviously, he's a star in his own right, but they didn't, become like huge namesakes. But yeah, the Usual Suspects is pretty much like if you ever hear anybody reference the name Kaiser Soze, they got that reference from this movie. And just this big mystery almost with this Kaiser Soze character who is just like a boogeyman among criminals. It's like a kingpin in a way, like Marvel's Kingpin. That you ever seen Netflix Kingpin? It's like in the first few episodes, he's kind of like, excuse me, kind of like a just a behind the scenes villain that you are afraid to uh, cross paths with, let alone cross period. That like the Kingpin, he doesn't just come after you; he'll come after anybody you are, whoever uh, in love with, your family, any friends you might have. He'll just wreck you through and through, even if you're dead. Like that's just like a serious threat. It's probably like the scariest thing from a gangster in like period, that someone who can like just tear your world asunder, even if they manage to kill you, they just still get to work on you. It's like with the Ocean's 11, the first one, like they dealing with this business Vegas tycoon who played by uh uh blanking on his name, the but anyway, who uh who will do the exact same, who was referenced to in doing the exact same thing, who anybody who crossed them, who just uproot your life with a snap of his fingers, does not care. And it's because you know like one of the characters in that movie was like, back in the day, a guy whack you and that'll be it. But nowadays, like that real kind of threat is kind of characters like Kaiser Soze, who won't just kill you or uproot anybody, whoever you cross paths with. You might take away their business, livelihood, or just I'll kill them too just because. But the Usual Suspects is a very good film that deserves a watch. It's like great psychological drama, uh, almost in the same vein as crime drama, but it's like you get some kind of thriller out of it too. Definitely recommend this film if you get the chance. The Wolfman. Talking about Benicio del Toro, he plays the Wolfman very uh, great in this. Uh, I wish this is part of the. I wish this was part of the Universal Monster movie. You got like the Wolfman. This is like true Wolfman, not like a werewolf like in Underworld. This is like a Wolfman, like the classic old school 1920s 30s Universal Monster movie kind of stuff back in the day. And this is like an updated version of that story, and it gets very graphic too. If you want like a cool Wolfman story or movie, this is the one for you. Another Anthony Hopkins movies too. Uh, is very well done, and it's like especially if you want to watch it around the Halloween season, definitely check this out. And the transformation they managed to pull off between man and Wolfman is very good and creative. Just bones cracking and distorting into big animal size, like twice the size of a man, but bigger and beefier and hairier, and just like the transformation is very unique and creative. So definitely recommend this. Another DiCaprio movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, the first movie I've ever seen Margot Robbie in. That woman is stunning. It's like hot. It's like, what are they feeding people in Australia? They got Chris Hemsworth family and Margot Robbie. Just to, I mean, just get people that good looking. It's just, oh my God. She was fine in this, and she's fine as Harley Quinn as well. But The Wolf of Wall Street I've watched constantly. It's one of the few non-gangster Martin Scorsese movies, but pretty much the story of Martin Belfort, who was this like yuppie, up and coming yuppie who was like uh, exploited a lot of people uh, uh, in his rise to power. But you gotta check this out. It's just like a good story about like, because he was on a lot of news cycles recently after the whole GameStop uh, Robin Hood situation a couple weeks back. And he was like just giving people advice about like, okay, yeah, this investment, this is how it works out. I was kind of loud in the game and they didn't like that kind of thing. So they probably had a hand in taking me down and sending me to prison for several months. But yeah, this is like a great film. I watch this constantly. I mean, not because I'm like into like business or anything like that. You know, all that, I mean, I understood it, but it's not something like, I would retain. But I just like the, just the story of it in of itself, just to watch all these characters. You got like John Bernthal, the Punisher, literally in this movie. This is like one of the few movies outside of like The Walking Dead and the Punisher that I've seen him in. And you got like Jonah Hill in it, uh, and of course Margot Robbie. And you definitely gotta check this film out. It's a very good film. It's one of my favorite DiCaprio films. Throw a Mama from the Train. Yeah, Danny DeVito, Billy Crystal. This is kind of like a different interpretation of Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train story, which was referenced in this movie, where like two people who have somebody that they want gone, and in order to not get caught, you swap murders. So that way you have like a solid alibi kind of situation. Doesn't really work in real life with DNA evidence and all this other stuff, because nobody can never pull off a. It's very rare in history to have somebody pull off a perfect murder that they never got caught from. You have the very, very smart, like on the Zodiac killer kind of level of smart, because he never got caught. He's one of the, and then Jack the Ripper, one of the two people in criminal history, serial killers, but it's usually got to be serial killers. They're probably the ones that actually get away with stuff half the time. But those are the only two that I can think of that actually, in history, that actually got away with murder. Now, this is probably easily because like the technology at the time wasn't up to snuff to be able to easily find these kind of people out, or they're that level of skill to like avoid cops. But taunting them was like, you know, is always something that it's kind of like the Riddler. It's always got at least some kind of clue or riddle that, you know, end up usually getting themselves caught. But the Zodiac Killer is the only, and the Zodiac Killer and Jack the Ripper is the only two criminals that I can think of that never actually got caught by the cops ever. But yeah, Strangers from the Train is also a great film, but Throw Mom from the Train is also probably like my version of Strangers on the Train that I prefer. But this also was ironically referenced in Horrible Bosses, the movie I also brought up in my previous video that I also enjoyed. That, you know, the whole swapping murders theme. So, uh, Throw Mama from a Train is a very good movie. It's made in the early 90s, like I think 1990 or 1991. Uh, Very good Billy Crystal movie. Probably my favorite Billy Crystal movie, aside from City Slickers. And then Danny Vito, always a great actor, still solid actor. Probably my favorite Van Damme movie of all time, Time Cop. Uh, it's one of those time travel movies that I thoroughly enjoy, but kind of bring home to me that you shouldn't meet your past self, otherwise, you know, things would implode. But uh, uh, yeah, John Claude Van Damme pretty much is like a cop in this, a time cop, pretty much, because uh, time travel was created and it needed to be policed. So anybody who somehow, come to think of it, I don't even know how like certain people who managed to get a hold of certain uh, time travel technology to be able to travel back in time to affect time. But whenever they find out there was like an alter in history or something going on, I don't think they ever gone into the future. I don't think that was ever established as being possible. But definitely going into the past was possible, obviously. And if there was any kind of alterations of anything going on in the past, they sent a time cop and a partner uh, back in time to stop them and correct the time flow by any means necessary. I won't say by any means necessarily, but uh, they do, you know, mete out justice sometimes by execution. Either like, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but you'll see in the beginning they see how they dole out punishment depending on the level of the crime, the time crime. So definitely check out Van Damme. It's one of his best. Personally, it's one of my favorite uh, films starring him. A great movie, Time Cop. Tolkien. Now I meant a reference when I was talking about Clerks about I'm not particularly fond of uh, the Tolkien Hobbit films, but I did get a thrill out of watching this movie based on his life and how he created. Just like with the man who invented Christmas, Tolkien is a great movie of how Tolkien created The Lord of the Rings. This is around the time prior to World War II happening, because he did enlist into the war, and I guess that's how he created the idea of like equating that to his writing and story of creating this big world and coming up with, because he was a master of creating different languages apparently. So that's how create all this orc speak and all this other elf speaking, elven speak, and all this other stuff uh, through his time during the war, even prior to that, because he did gone to college for that kind of level of study. But yeah, Tolkien, if you like The Lord of the Rings, you'll love this movie. Tolkien is a very good movie. Another Schwarzenegger film, Total Recall. The remake, what they did with Colin Farrell, sucked, but you cannot, like I said, cannot capture lightning in a bottle all the time. But I'm about to say Time Cop. Total Recall is a great movie. It's one of those movies that's based on the future or possible futures, and it's one of those kind of like Blade Runner, when you don't know if Harrison Ford is a replicant. Total Recall plays off something like that, where like it's pretty much like a virtual reality thing. You get to go on a virtual vacation and live out a life uh, at and everywhere that you want, and do whatever you like. If you want to be a spy or a president, or you want to run a company, or date the hottest models, or be somebody famous, anything like that, Total Recall usually provides. But then there's some kind of mix up, and Schwarzenegger wanted to play at the role of being like a super spy, and like you can never tell if what he's going through in the movie is his actual dream sequence coming being satisfied, or is actually happening. But it's definitely a highly recommended movie. Total Recall is awesome. I mentioned earlier about Tower Heist. Is another great heist movie. Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy. Also, uh, Matthew Broderick is in here. I forgot the guy's name who I mentioned earlier was related to Ben Affleck. He's in this, and great star-studded cast. Laura Linney is also in this one. But this movie, Tower Heist, is incredible. It's based, it's probably one of the few Thanksgiving films that I can think of aside from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This is like a good Thanksgiving movie. If you want a good Thanksgiving movie, this is a good Thanksgiving movie, because just like with Die Hard, which is centered around Christmas, this is centered around Thanksgiving. Because you got the Thanksgiving Day Parade and all the other stuff going on. And like, just like the atmosphere, just like the crisp cold air, you can tell it's fall. And it's like, yeah, I consider this a great Thanksgiving film. Check it out. Great Ben Stiller film, great Eddie Murphy film. Like everybody involved in this is like very good, and it's hilarious. Definitely check out Tower Heist. Need I say more about Toy Story? Solid films. It should have ended after 3 technically, because I think it rounded out everything perfectly with you know about moving on and people growing up. But Toy Story 4 was solid as well. But kind of hope they just be done with it. It's done. Like you can't keep rolling this out. You gotta put a stop to it, because Tim Allen is Buzz Lightyear, and you know and Tom Hanks as Woody. A lot of the cast in the original Toy Story, most of them are no longer here with us. They passed away, and or they just didn't want to return to it. But you gotta end this here, and it's like, and then they made like a Toy Story TV show, if I'm remembering correctly. And like, if you want to continue like the story of Toy Story and these action figures and these dolls, continue with just making like a TV show, and just recast a lot of the people, get like a sound alike for Woody and Buzz and all these characters, and continue the story with I think the little girl who got the toys now is named Molly. But you know continue the story with that, and like you get these little adventures, you can just do that. Leave after 4, leave it alone. It's no more stories you can tell with this. You can just continue on with making it, from like a TV show standpoint. That being said, they are making a Buzz Lightyear movie based off the character where the toy was supposed to be represented, with Chris Evans as Buzz Lightyear, the actual Buzz Lightyear where the uh, uh, toy was based off of. That is very interesting, and I'm eager to see how that turns out. So yeah, Toy Story is obviously recommended 1 through 4. Watch it with your kids. It's very fun. The very first one still holds up very well, but 2 is like a great sequel. When it's kind of like the first one's like all about Buzz. Uh, Toy Story 2 is basically off of Woody and his original creation, and how everything involving him. So definitely check out Toy Stories. Trading Places, and this is like when I mentioned Coming to America, I highly believe this is in the same universe because the villains in this movie showing up in cameos in the Coming to America movie. So Trading Places is a lot like what I mentioned before about what's going on with Robin Hood and with the whole GameStop thing. It's pretty much like the little guy playing the same game as these bigwigs, and the bigwigs is not liking it that much, because like you didn't think like these little guys are gonna one day figure this stuff out, or and win big and pretty much take the house, not just beat the house, they took the house, and there's a lot of Trading Places reference when it comes to dealing with like what you saw like with like Robin Hood and what they was going on with. Trading Places is a great movie. It's pretty much like not body swap, but it's like Trading Places, like a bum dude, a con artist like Eddie Murphy's character, and switching roles with just by the villain's bet, making a know nothing into something and then turning like a something into a nothing with Dan Aykroyd's character. Uh, this movie is all around fun. Although there is one moment I gotta say, which is not cancel nobody. I'm telling you right now, don't cancel nobody. It's just what happened at the time, and nobody's gonna freak out over it. But Dan Aykroyd in one scene did do blackface as a Jamaican guy in one scene. It's short, and it didn't last that long. It was the '80s. It wasn't a thing. Obviously, he's not racist. Obviously, he shouldn't do that. But I don't want nobody canceling Dan Aykroyd over it. It is just move on from it. It happened. He didn't do it repeatedly. It was just a thing in the movie. It shouldn't have been done, but it was a time, and it, I'm pretty sure no black person liked it that much, especially no older black person liked it that much. But it happened. Move on. It's not good. Don't do it ever. But it happened in the past. It's many decades ago. So let it go. But the movie as a whole, regardless, especially when you like a movie, which also Jamie Lee Curtis is in this, but a movie about like dealing with like the stock and Wall Street and screwing them over and that kind of stuff. It's fun to watch. It's hilarious. Definitely recommend Trading Places. Treasure Planet. Now this is based off of Treasure Island book, which also the TV show Black Sails, which is like the prequel to Treasure Island. You get to see, because I didn't know that until after I watched Black Sails during the shutdown period in early 2020. I checked out Black Sails on Hulu, which is pretty good. And I didn't realize it was like a prequel to Treasure Island until the show end, or at least getting towards the end, where I got the notion like, oh, this is Treasure Planet. But then I realized Treasure Planet is just like a Disney-fied uh, showing of a retelling of Treasure Island in like a futuristic kind of setting. Uh, same, probably the same people. Some of the same people worked on uh, the Atlantis uh, Lost Empire. worked on this movie the same kind of art design and great graphics. Is awesome to look at, and these like futuristic pirate ships, and you got like Long John Silver, uh, who is an iconic kind of storybook pirate villain. He didn't technically, I would say, it's hard to say if he because like if you watch Black Sails, it's based off of real life, real life pirates, and I'm pretty sure Long John Silver is like was a real life pirate, probably one of the most ruthless pirates next to Blackbeard of the time, and like he's become like one of those characters that can be retold in lots of different ways. But Treasure Planet is a very awesome movie, and you talking about the captain. It's like I'm not sure what alien species he is. He's kind of like the cat kind of person, and it's like he's talking about like hot looking cartoon characters. She was hot, and I love like strong women that commands authority, and it's like that is so doggone sexy to me. But yeah, Treasure Planet is like an awesome adventure movie, Disney adventure movie that is highly recommended, especially if you want to watch it with your kids. They will get a thrill out of it. Definitely check it out. Then we got Tron 1 and Tron 2, Tron Legacy. Uh, Very good movie. And you talking about like, traversing the internet, and you got Jeff Bridges as like reprising his role as Kevin Flynn, and like you talking about like 80s aesthetic in the first one, but I love the look of uh, Tron's world in like cyberspace. I like to believe that cyberspace looked just like Tron when you got these neon colors and black overseeing certain colors depending on usually blue or bluish white. But you get to see other certain characters got bluish, black and red trim, and or black and green trim, and you got Daft Punk in like the Tron Legacy. How can you not like it? It's like Daft Punk, that's their jam. I mean, like I would never put that together of putting Daft Punk in this because like they look like Tron characters. I mean, like how could you not put them in it? But like not a lot of people enjoyed the Tron Legacy film. I enjoyed Tron Legacy. I thought it was like a great film, a great sequel, even after all this time. Another good example of movies to sequel to movies that came out years, decades ago. But this is like a solid film, and like I love the atmosphere of it. This bluish black white ecstatic. Even when you're not inside the system, the outside real world was in the nighttime setting, so you get to still see that look to it, and the theme and the score to it. I love that sound, and it's like it really gets you engaged. It's it's like you just want to see more of this world. And too bad it might not be a third one, but I think it's a solid film to the original film. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man. I'm talking about like the '90s version, the original one, and the Secret of the Ooze, and those are my Ninja Turtles. I don't like the roided out Michael Bay versions. That those suck. I'm sorry, those suck. You might like it, that's fine, but to me they suck. That's not Ninja Turtles to me. They're gross, not gross, but it's like they're too big. How are you supposed to get inside manhole covers when your main base is in a sewer? And you got and you're the size of the Rock. Like, what sense does that make? That was like a poor design choice. But the original, because Jim Henson oversaw the designs of the '90s versions of the Ninja Turtles live action movie, and that's why it looks so good to me. Because it's Jim Henson, he makes puppetry work so well. And you got Tokar and Razor, which is not Bebop and Rocksteady, but I still love them nonetheless. And like the Shredder in both films is so good, and he got like probably the most quotable lines is like, "They're babies. Ah, and it's like it's the Super Shredder. You'll kill all of us. They're so be it. And it's like, Secret Ooze is like, I mean, of course, it's PG-13. They couldn't use the actual weapons, ninja weapons. They're supposed to be Ninja Turtles. But they use other things like yo-yos and other stuff to battle the Foot Clan. And, it's fine for what it is. I still enjoy Ninja Turtles and the Secret of the Ooze. So I I'm pretty sure you can find it on Amazon Prime. You can check out the first two Ninja Turtles 90 version Turtles movies and check it out. And if you haven't seen it in years, definitely give it like a rewatch after all these years. It would be fun to reclaim your nostalgia. Got another Jackie Chan film, probably the final Jackie Chan film on this list, Twin Dragons. Now, Twin Dragons was like late 80s, early 90s. Is in like Jackie Chan plays himself pretty much. Uh, Twin kids, split at birth kind of story. One grew up in the streets, the other had this extravagant lifestyle as a musician and like a pianist to be specific. And like they meet up years later on an accident, and like hijinks ensue, but great action and funny comedic moments. Definitely check out Twin Dragons. Just the action alone, uh, great a great role for Jackie Chan. I love everything involved in that movie. I watched it a dozen times as a kid, and like I rewatched it probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it's been a while. But like I still have fond memories of this movie. I love this Jackie Chan film. I will be doing like a review of Jackie Chan Adventures eventually. I'll be doing like a season review on that, so I'm gonna put it on a list and see which ones I'm gonna be. I'm probably gonna be do in conjunction with each other. Like I said, it's like live action, not live action, but like live discuss reviews on these things on the channel like this, probably a few times a month, not every day. Depending, it might increase depending if I don't have much video game walkthroughs to go through. But Jackie Chan Adventures is on the list, and I really want to do that. I want to revisit that because it's a very good, solid show that lasted 4 seasons, I think. And I don't think the fourth season wasn't as good as the previous ones, but I think it's still pretty solid, and it's like for what it is, still like a great all around show. Now I was gonna put like Split and Unbreakable on the list, but I figured I merged them together with Glass. The Unbreakable franchise on its own is just phenomenal. Uh, it's like I love all three of these actors. I did not go see Split in the theaters because it was at the time people really was uh, down on M. Night Shyamalan because he was churning out crap for the longest time since The Happening. But when he came out with Split, and then to everybody's surprise, it was a shared universe with Glass. We was all expecting something like akin to MCU, just like a mini MCU, not like anything big. But you got Sam Jackson coming back as Mr. Glass, and Bruce Willis coming back as well. He's called himself the Overseer, but that was what he called himself in Glass. But that's his superhero name. But I enjoy Glass. I love all three of these movies. They're solid movies. Now, Mr. Glass, the ending, well, at least how it ended with these characters sucked. So that's the only con I had of it. But everything else around it, I thought was very enjoyable. These characters, this is probably the only time like Bruce Willis does not seem like he's like going through the motions. He actually does enjoy this role, and a lot of people see how he's like really engaged here more so than anything he's been in a while. But James McAvoy shined in this, just like he shined in Split. The fact that he get to play 23 characters we only saw like maybe like like a handful of those in Split, but you get to see like, at least maybe 23 or at least close to 23 in personalities in Mr. Glass movie, and like he was just like firing them off, fast, like because like this light, and like he changes every time he get a flash of light in his face, and it's like he changes personalities immediately, and every time like this doctor who does it, he goes through every personality with different accents sometimes, and it's like different mannerisms. It's just like even women, it was like this dude is phenomenal. I just like darn near applauded in the theater once I saw this because it was like, oh my god, this is like an incredible actor. That's like James McAvoy is a phenomenal. He's like easily became my favorite. I thought I enjoyed him in as Professor Xavier, which I hope he returns in the MCU because he's still young enough to play Professor Xavier for at least another 10 years. But his role in Split and Glass was just incredible and just solidified of me enjoying him in anything possible. He was also in Wanted, but which is one of his earlier works, but he wasn't like it didn't launch him into upper echelon status. That was probably more so Professor Xavier than anything else. But yeah, I highly recommend all three of these movies: Unbreakable, Split, and Mr. Glass. Check them all out. They're very, very good. Another Van Damme movie, Universal Soldier: The Return. The only Universal Soldier movie that I like. They made the original one is fine. It's still okay, good. Pretty sure it was still in the early '90s, like at least 1998, somewhere between 1987 to 1999, somewhere around there, with the first Universal Soldier movie. But I think it was, I could be wrong, it could be in the 80s. But you got Universal Soldier: The Return. Yeah, I think it was in the 80s. But Universal Soldier Return was in like late 90s, early 2000s. I think it was like somewhere around then. But you got like Michael J. White in this is like playing off of like a Ultron Skynet kind of villain, and like of course Van Damme was awesome in this, and I watched this a lot as a as a teenager, I should say, but it's an awesome Universal Soldier movie. It's very good, highly recommended. I think this is the last Eddie Murphy movie, but a lot of people, female friends I know, especially older ones, thought this movie really solidified as like, holy crap, Eddie Murphy is like so doggone handsome in this. Like I didn't know pennies dropped that hard for Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn, but he was awesome in this movie. A solid vampire movie. Is one of like easily one of my favorite vampire movies. Uh, but it has comedic elements. But him, Angela Bassett, great chemistry. Angela Bassett has not aged a day. I honestly think she's just built just with unique stuff that God handed out that we're just not, the rest of us mortals are not privy to. But Angela Bassett is so fine. He's talking like, sexy grown women. She fits that role of sexy grown women, like with Selma Hayek and Rosie Perez. Those are like sexy grown women. You want to tell like a guy you deserve like a real woman. These are perfect examples of really sexy grown women. But yeah, Vampire in Brooklyn, it has its like horror elements to it as well. But when it want to show its comedic takes, they they don't shy away from their comedic takes, and they don't shy away from their horror elements. So like definitely recommend Vampire in Brooklyn. It's a very good film. One of the best Eddie Murphy films growing up. Virtuosity, one of my favorite first Denzel movie I ever watched growing up. Uh, and also probably the first Russell Crowe movie I ever seen, but I did not know who Russell Crowe was by name. All I knew he was just that white guy who played that killer in Virtuosity. But eventually I realized his name. But in his movies, he's play off this. It's like a virtual reality, not virtual reality. This virtual serial killer that was built for um, like a testing grounds for cops to deal with certain perps of different criminalities. And Russell Crowe's character was created on the mind, built off of minds of different dictators and serial killers over through the course of history into one person, like Dahmer and Kim Jong, not Un, but Kim Jong Il, uh, 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 Gacy, Hitler, and uh, uh, just all you know, every kind of like psychopath that ever exists in this well-known history. They somehow put it all together in this one character, and in a way, you created the Joker. You probably created the Joker. That's how you get all these psychopaths into one mind. You got the Joker probably, but um, Denzel Washington plays this ex-cop who has to get this, kill this guy, or at least capture him. But Russell Crowe's character escapes virtual reality and goes on a killing spree, and just in the same time, taunts, because he loves taunting and playing around with his prey, and he especially Denzel Washington's character, especially because one of the psychopaths in his head is also a criminal that Denzel Washington's character ends up killing, because he ended up killing his wife and daughter. And so he went on this little complete killing spree, and ended up accidentally killing uh, random innocent people that was captured. So he was obviously sent to prison, but he got out in order to, kind of like with Demolition Man, ex-cop comes back into the fray to stop a psychopath. It's pretty much the same story here with virtual reality, but it's just, instead of going in the future, you're dealing with like a virtual reality serial killer that escaped and just goes on this massive spree. It's Russell Crowe is funny in this. I like the way he plays this character, kind of like a great villain. I wish it was up there with more so with like iconic movie villains, but he didn't reach that level. I don't think it spoke to a lot of this movie spoke to a lot of people at the box office. At least I don't think. This came out in '95. I was a little kid at the time, but yeah, this movie is awesome. Last Robin Williams movie, What Dreams May Come. I watched this movie also in film studies class in high school. At least I think it was film studies class. I think it was just a random movie. No, it was film studies class. Yeah, I remember I had to do a paper on this. But this was a great idea, a creative story where Robin Williams' character, uh, dealing with a lot about death. Robin Williams' character is one of those somber, non-comedic roles he took. Uh, his character passed away, got into an accident, got sent to heaven, and heaven is like what you make it. So he created all the stuff. Cuba Gooding Jr. It plays off of him as like a kind of his guide in the film, and like is a great story of about life and death and what it means, uh and then you also got like it's a very you know sad movie at the beginning, kind of like up in a way, but you get certain moments that's like, wow, you just want to see what else you can do in this his heaven, his version of heaven. And then of course he got a wife who's, because they before he died, his wife, before his character died, his wife and him and his wife lost their children in an accident themselves. So they, for a longest time, was just like in this little melancholy mood. And then he ended up dying in like another accident. So she's all alone. She's depressed. And then committed suicide. Then the character was sent to, I guess, not hell, but purgatory. But he said it was hell to him because you might as well be hell, because like suicides, it is like a sinnable offense. by biblical standards. So he his spirit travels through like uh, this journey just to find his wife and bring her out of it and back to heaven with him. It's a very good film. I remember doing like a few papers on it because one of the things assignments was trying to like what would your heaven be? And I remember I love going downtown so much in Chicago because especially during spring and summer because I or at least during the holidays when it's not too cold when you get to see like the window displays. I love visiting downtown because it's just like I'm a city kid, so like I like just being downtown, just like exploring a bit. I guess my version of heaven would just be just being around this downtown, just exploring downtown. So yeah, Boy Dreams May Come is like a very good, more somber Robin Williams movie, like what Goodwill Hunting was. But yeah, it's another good Robin Williams movie. We're coming at the end now. Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, 1, 2, and 3, I highly recommend. Just like Pokemon, the first movie, I mean, of course, Pokemon 2 was very good. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but I enjoyed it as well. But I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I said, when I discussing about Pokemon, I would definitely want to voice a character from any Yu-Gi-Oh! John any Yu-Gi-Oh generation, or at least a card like monster card or something like that. I just want to be involved in Yu-Gi-Oh in some fashion as a voice actor because I love Yu-Gi-Oh. It spoke to me as that and Pokemon was hitting me at the right age that to this day I still collect cards. I watched the anime over and over again to the point where I like almost got perfect recall of like these characters and what they'll do. It's just like it's awesome. And if you love Yu-Gi-Oh, if you've seen Yu-Gi-Oh before, but you never got around to watching these movies, highly recommend watching the first movie. Then definitely check out Bonds Beyond Time, where you get to actually see the first three main protagonists come together. It's another time travel kind of movie where you get these three, like this villain who's trying to destroy Duel Monsters by killing Maximilian Pegasus, the creator of Duel Monsters, and like through by a series of some kind of magic or something like that. Uh, these three, because they have their own brand of different version of their own magic, at least mysticism in some fashion through their own respective arcs. You ever watched their respective shows? So Yusuke Fudo, the one in the blue jacket with the yellow spike hair, not yellow spike. I gotta say, the one on the far right of the picture. And then you got Yugi in the middle, and then Jaden Yuki in the red jacket. All probably like my favorite, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters GX and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds are probably like the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Episodes that I've seen that I rewatched more so than even Zexo and Arc 5 because like I like them well enough, but I don't often go back to them constantly like I do with Dual Monsters GX and 5Ds where these three comes from. And this is the first time these three ever come together. Probably never see that ever happen again because you say it's from the future, and then well, technically, Yuki and Jaden can easily see each other because they met briefly in the passing of a torch moment in episode 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. They actually bumped into each other, and they meet at the end of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series again to do just like a final ultimate duel between these two very well like genius duelists. And it's like arguably, like a lot of people did like research on this, and like out of all these three, Jaden won the most duels. You say right behind him, and then Yugi, who's the king of games, it's probably like middle tier. Uh, out of all the protagonists of every Yu-Gi-Oh series, Yugi, ironically, because it was so new at the time, he is one of the greatest duelists. Obviously, he's still up there, but out of all the Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists, he's middle tier in a way, which is because I mean, they all have their fair share of losses, but is Jaden and Yusei, the two here, is on the left and right side, had the littlest amounts of losses throughout the entire series. They lost so very little in their respective series, which is amazing. Yugi lost very little too, but still slightly more so than the other two. But I mentioned that when if you watch me play Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist on my channel, I talked about that when I was doing like Little Yugi's video and uh, Yami Yugi's video, and then of course Jaden Yugi and Yusei Fudo. I did all. I played I played with their decks in my gameplay of that game. So if you want to check it out on YouTube, go ahead. I got a plethora of videos of Yu-Gi-Oh! My playthrough of different decks and characters and all respective campaigns. Check them out. That's very fun and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, if you're into Yu-Gi-Oh! And you haven't seen these movies, check them out. Of course, Dark Side of Dimensions. I thoroughly love this. This is set uh, like at least months, if not maybe like a year after Duel Monsters ended for Yugi and his friends, and it's pretty much like an adventure of dealing with this other character who, if you don't know who Shadi is, he has an association with this character on this bottom left, who uh, has this grief with like the world in a way, and he's kind of got corrupted by the Millennium Ring, I think. But it's been a minute since I've seen it. But you know, a lot Yugi in this is obviously still struggling, coping with not being merged with the spirit of the Millennium Puzzle anymore, which is technically his Egyptian ancestor. But Kaiba trying to, using all his technology uh, and money that he has to create a freaking time machine, and by stealing the Millennium Puzzle that Yugi left in the tomb of the Pharaoh, just to trying to find a doorway back in time so he can finally get his ultimate duel with the Pharaoh, because that was his rival, not little Yugi. He he created a time machine just to trying to do a final duel against his rival. Who does that? It's like who's that obsessed to beat somebody in a duel in like a children's card game? But then again, I'll probably take that kind of stuff seriously too, because like Yugi, if I can live in any anime, uh, it'll be tied between Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. Because like I'll definitely take on like a somebody in a duel, like just like because my favorite cards, like I mentioned in my uh, campaign of Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, the Six Samurai deck, archetype deck. If you can check it out on my channel, Yu-Gi-Oh! Six Samurai deck, or at least go to Talkative Karl and go through like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video list. You'll see my single video for the Six Samurai and me playing with that deck. I love that deck. That and uh, Alistair Spellbook archetype deck. I love those archetypes. Those are my favorite ones. And it's like something like I can easily build a solid deck from and really make it my own. Others made their own too, but I like those. Those archetypes are part of my favorite ones. That and surprisingly, the Gladiator Beast deck. So yeah, I highly recommend Dark Side of Dimensions, the Yu-Gi-Oh! The first movie, and of course Bonds Beyond Time. Check all three out. And we had the last one finally. It took a few videos, but finally at the final video, the Mask of Zorro, the first one, not the sequel, Antonio Banderas plays the iconic swashbuckler, the inspiration to Bruce Wayne to becoming Batman, uh, that and the Shadow, Zorro, the Batman before Batman, uh, Mexico's Batman, pretty much, a swashbuckling hero. Zorro is an amazing hero. Like, there's been a black and white TV show about him I've seen here and there, but none of them resonate with me like the Mask of Zorro. Literally after this movie, that year on that Halloween, I went dressed as Zorro for Halloween as a kid because I loved that movie so much. So yeah, I still remember that. I have had a toy rapier and everything like that, and uh, like my stepmother at the time had like this big Halloween party at the house, and like family and a few friends are invited, and like a lot of them came dressed, and like I was a pudgy kid, but I still like my Zorro costume. I wanted to go as Zorro. As a matter of fact, probably should go with Zorro at some point in the future again, just to really like bring it full circle again. That'll be kind of fun. But no, I mean this year, this Halloween, I'm gonna go as probably Static Shock, and maybe the year after that, next Halloween, I'll probably go as Naruto because I've been putting that off for a while. But maybe the year after that, I'll probably go as Zoro again. But hopefully, I'll remember that. But yeah, Zoro, Antonio Banderas. If you like that, hero. If you don't know this hero Zoro, check out. This is a good movie to get invested into the myth of Zorro. Of course, uh, Anthony Hopkins is in this movie. He's supposed to be his character is supposed to be based off the original black and white Zorro from the television shows, the original Zorro, and it's pretty much like Antonio Banderas' character picks up the mantle. So, uh, check out this movie; it's very good. The sequel, not so much, but this first one is awesome. And so, yeah, that is it. Finally, thank God. I didn't realize how much stuff was in this until I knew it was gonna be long, but I didn't think it was gonna be that long. It took me at least several hours, not several, but at least a few hours to finally complete. But yeah, honorable mentions. Definitely check out Despicable Me 1 and 2. Check out Face Off. I should have put it on the list. I thought I did, but I blanked on that. So yeah, Pokemon 2, the sequel to the Pokemon, the first movie. Check that out. Those are probably my, up the top of my head, honorable mentions. Uh, so yeah, thank you all for joining me. I will be. It's late tonight, so I need to get something to eat because I haven't eaten all day. At least not eaten since lunch, I should say. But I will be coming back later. Technically, today was already today. Well, I was about to say tomorrow, but technically it's already tomorrow. But I will be making like a shorter, not relatively short. It's not gonna be as long as this one was because I watched a lot of movies growing up. So I'll be going over my favorite Marvel films, all of them, not just MCU. My favorite DC films, favorite anime, and favorite video games. Hopefully, I'll have time to do my Black History Month video. That will be probably the shortest one because it's probably not going to be that long. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to do that first and get it out the way because the other two are like probably worth just one. Each one probably gonna, well, at least I think the Marvel film video is probably going to be like at least a couple of hours, and then uh, the rest will probably be just an hour long each. But the Black History Month video I want to do is probably going to be like 30 to 40 minutes. It's not going to be that long. So look forward to those. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Thank you all for joining me and chatting with me. And I'll see you all next time. Peace. And love you all 3000.